Oh yes, and this is most people would recognise this as an Austin or Mice 1100, 1300, but this is the Van der Pla version. So you get these lovely hubcaps and a really nice attachable little rear view mirror here. Oh yes, all the lashings of chrome and the wood, the picnic baskets. In fact, I can smell the inside of this car. No, it's the inside of this car, because he's got the champagne out on this one. I can smell the inside of his car with that whiff. And this is a 1100, a Princess 1100. It smells like my P6, that 60s, 70s smell of old car and very beautiful cars. We've got another one here with a very nice woodwind steering wheel. Oh yes, that's a nice one. And we've got another one. We've got another ST3 here. This is 3 that I've seen today. I've never seen 1 before today, and now I see 3. This is definitely the show to come to. And this this paintwork with these these door trims just makes me think of Montegos. And this is the 216. So again, we would have the Honda D series in this. The Honda D series was a pretty new engine when these SD3s came out. So it was a pretty new technology to Honda, I should say, with a chrome exhaust finisher at the back, lattice wheels. I do like these coach stripes. They really are endearing. It makes me want to own one, because I think it's so sad that people just overlook these because they're just not proper Rovers. But what is a Rover? I mean, you could say that an R8 isn't a proper Rover because it's a Honda, and pretty much every Rover since the Rover 75 is just a BMW. You could be very cynical when saying a lot of things. So it wears a Rover badge, it's a Rover. It's as simple as that. The only exception is City Rovers. Maybe not. Got another Princess here in astonishing condition. Now this one, it's got a 3, I think most of them are automatics. I think it'd be a 3-speed Borg Warner, something like that. But again, this one has got 2 types of interesting colours going on here. Not sort of brown, and then we've got a bit of oatmeal going on. So a 2-tone finish, separated by this lovely strip going across. Now we've got the Mini 40 register. And that's what a lot of these that are pulled in. So apologies if I've made a mistake here, but the Mini 40 was a special limited edition that they launched in 1999. And you got all these flared arches that you got on the later ones with some. This one's got a burgundy interior to match the exterior. Most of them had an interior to match. Absolutely beautiful to see, and they still retained the rear opening windows all the way to the end. We've got a Mini Cooper Sport. Now by this time, obviously, they've gone to multi-point injection, which every manufacturer offered. Took a lot of work to get the A series adapted to accept multi-point injection, and it's a very technical term, but I'll find out more about it. It's Siamese ports. If anybody knows more about that, please put it in the comments what Siamese ports is and what they had to do to the A series to adapt it. I'm pretty sure, and I've got those key terms, but if you could let me know, that would be grand. Ooh, nice little V-Reg Mini Cooper with all the stripes. We're going to see quite a few here. These seats are gorgeous. We've got the 2-tone going on here, and even with the driver's airbag, it didn't really make much of a difference to the look. Obviously, you know, they still celebrated their heritage of John Cooper as well. Although arguably John Cooper, as many people say, it's just the face. John Cooper did not do the engineering on the Mini. It was a very clever man whose name has been very forgotten in the history of motoring. Now I was going to say this is a Metro Mosaic. I was going to get that completely confused. It's a Metro 1300. These beautiful white colour, 3-door obviously, really nice. And next door to it we have this Austin Metro City X, looking extremely honest, with the usual scabness you get on the metal bumpers, the unpainted non-colour coordinated bumpers that you can get. Really nice to see in a very honest condition. I believe that this was at the Pride of Lumbridge. And next to it we've got this 100 Cabriolet. I've never actually seen one of these in the flesh at all. How versatile is that? You can even put your tea on the back shelf. There you go. Wow. And I think this would have had the 1.4K series, if I'm not mistaken. It's an N-Reg. Oh yes, it is. It's the 1.4, 75 brake horsepower, very healthy for a Metro, wicked car. Do forgive me, but we've got a very, very nice Rover P4 Cyclops, because we have the central fog light, hence why we call them the Cyclopses. Now, I believe it could be a 90, I might be wrong, it depends on the engine, can't really tell, there's no badge on the back. There's nothing to suggest what it is, but I suspect it's a 90. Look at that. Look at that quality wood going all the way across with that dainty little clock that has had the wood sculpted and crafted around the clock. The clock has just been placed and inserted. That's just utter class. And P4s really show this off, just like P5Bs. There is something about P6s that it kind of had a feel of a quality car, but more mass produced. I think the low volume nature of the P4 and P5B, and the P5 I should say, because you know P5B was just a later car. There was a nature of low volume, low production, low quality that Rovers afterwards generally didn't have as much in abundance. The P6 is a quality car, but it does have a more of a mainstream feel to them. The SD1's completely different answer, and we've got some SD1s to go and look at anyway. Because this is the BL show, we have a lot of, wow, this is a throwback to the old days of British Leyland with the LDV pilots and convoys, which are basically Sherpas in a completely different frock, but extremely, I'd say slightly modernised, but underneath it's still a Sherpa, let's face it. Anyway, we have the Austin 3 litre Owners Club, and Austin 3 litres, seldomly have I seen one. I mean, watching a couple of the old movies back in the day, then you know, you'd have seen a few of these in films. Automatic, Borg-Warner 3-speed, and exactly the same gear quadrant select as you get in an automatic MGB. Oh, I know a lot about my automatics, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, typical. Never really sold in huge numbers, very thirsty cars. I don't quite think they sort of met the market expectation at the time. Just not quite the right car at the right time, and its looks didn't exactly help. I certainly think they could have done with a little bit more inspiration at the front, but certainly a unique looking car. And yeah, I think they've got a character about them. There's another one here with a full whack of, wow, there's a whole guide on this car. I mean, this one tends to wear its paint a little bit more patinaed, so only about 10,000 were made. So yeah, quite a not a particularly successful car. Now I'm assuming that this has got hydroelastic suspension. They didn't get hydrogas on these, it was hydroelastic. A little bit different to hydrogas. There tends to be a little bit less of the nitrogen in the spheres, if I've got that correctly. And hydrogas was a cheapened, low-cost, mass-produced production version of that suspension. Again, most of them are automatics, and excuse me, yeah, I'm just smelling the interior. It's just absolutely sumptuous. Oh my god, they've got P6 filler locks. Exactly, with the retractable filler cap. That's a really nice touch. But they must have pinched that. They must have pinched that from Rover. That was a Rover thing. Just when Rover started to disappear to British Leyland, that things started to appear on different cars. And as we can see, we've got the C-Series engine, which is a big lump of engine. A little bit on the thirsty side, but then again, you know, a 3 litre of the age, it would have been like that anyway. This one's got a sumptuous leather interior. Yeah. There's another one here. Twin carbs. All looks very, very honest under the bonnet. I mean, this engine was also fitted to the MGC. It wasn't particularly successful in that car because of the weight of this engine at the front, and it kind of, the MGB as it was wasn't necessarily designed for this sort of engine. They did have to do a lot of adapting for this engine, but much more suited to this car. But it's not an engine that was produced, I think it was the least produced of all the Austin engines by quite a country mile. I think the A and B series would have obviously, they'd have been the most popular, but the C series never quite lived up to expectations, because it just went in cars that, in a world of a fuel crisis, the Suez crisis in 1973, it can't have helped any big engine back in the day. So maybe it was just one of those things that, fine engine, just wrong time. Now we've got some land crabs going on all over here, land crabs and maxis. We've got the 1800 here, which for me, yeah, it's just one of the things. I will say one thing: the Austin 3 litre uses the same doors as an 1800. I've got that correct, haven't I? They did the usual thing of just retaining the doors and then changing the body around it. Now this is a Wellesley 2 1885, so the Wellesley version of the 1800, and it's an automatic with I believe it will be on a column on this this car. Wellesley cars tend to have column gear changes. Austin 1800 in all its glory, with lovely patina showing along the scuttle, where exactly you don't want rust, but unfortunately rust tends to appear where you don't want it. Fantastic, lovely seats and carpet. I can just smell the vinyl, guys. You can smell that. Wing mirrors, because obviously door mirrors, well, were a thing. I suspect from the factory this was original, but the owners added door mirrors in later on. It could be the other way around. They could have left the factory door mirrors and added these mirrors later on, but it depends which one came first. These are wheels to die for. Look at that British Leyland symbol in the middle of that. That's gorgeous. I'm just going to walk down this line here. We've got another Wellesley, got a Morris 8. So we got the Morris version here, slightly different front grille, to distinguish the Morris and Austin, because I remember they were all the same company back then. The Morris and Austin were just, they were just brands. I mean, I think Morris became more of a brand name than Austin, because these started as Austins, and then obviously Wellesley was a brand, was a company, and then it became a brand. Just like Vans and Plight was a company, and then it became a brand. We all got collapsed into the same company, and it's a shame, because the individuality started to wither away badly. And it's almost like with certain cars like this, where they just decided, obviously for the Morris versions, we've got to make it look a little bit different, so we'll change a few things. But is that what Morris would have done as a company? Would they have made it look like that? It depends on your perspective. But oh Christ, okay, this is quite a nice one. This is the Land Crab rally car. Oh. Wow, okay, lots of lovely stickers back here. It's been debumpered. It's been to quite a few different places over the years, full of history. Love cars like this. Got another Morris 1800 here. It's very deep red, almost a brown to match the interior. Now this is interesting, because this one's got wing mirrors but no door mirrors. Again, that's how most of these cars would have looked back in the day, but these days people have added door mirrors to make them a bit more usable. I think it was sort of a 90s noughties thing when these cars weren't worth too much and people started wanting to make them a bit more usable and started adding things. But today, if the car is presented like this, you don't stick door mirrors on. You just don't really. You leave it as it is, because that's how it came out from the factory. People like originality with their cars. Oh, we've got an ambulance. Just in case that I do injure myself today, or trip over, or have some sort of accident, or in case I say the wrong thing and get punched in the face, there's an ambulance who's going to sort me out. And if I do need to go anywhere in a hurry, I will certainly not be using this. Definitely not. I'll be dead by the time I get to the hospital. Yep. Nice to spot that. Oh, we got the Maxis. Beautiful Maxi in this rather gorgeous white colour. Yeah, that's nice. 1750. Obviously the 1.7 litre E-Series engine. Yeah, this is cracking. That's what you want to see. I love the little emblem at the front there. Just these little checker flag there. I like the design of the Maxi at the front. They got it slap bang on. Remember, this is at a time where they were designing the Mini Clubman. So the Mini Clubman came out because they thought the Mini Clubman might just replace the round traditional front Mini. Turned out that the Mini Clubman just didn't do that eventually, but they were going the same way. Again, with the Maxis, they were doing something very similar with the style at the front. But turns out for the Clubman, things didn't work out, and for the Maxi, everybody's got stories of Maxis. We've seen this one already at a local show, very patinaed, really nice to see. But with the Maxi, highly practical. No one's going to. It was a highly practical car, hatchback. You could sleep in it, and I think there are plenty of stories of people who've gone away in this. Instead of if you couldn't afford a VW camper van, you know, you bought one of these, and they're cracking. They're much more usable cars, to be fair. Oh yes, now this is a really early one. It's got Austin written on the front of it. Look at that, where they stretched out the letters. It reminds me of the early Allegros where they stretched the letters out, especially on like things like the steering wheel. Okay, I'm sorry guys, I'm doing it on camera, but I'm taking in the smells of history, and I had to badge it. It is an Austin Maxi. Stretch the word out. Yeah, we got a bit of a later one here. Obviously, chrome bumpers on the early ones, and then they reverted to these sort of more metal plasticky bumpers later on. Obviously, the Maxi's got some really thick seats. I tell you what, whatever seat manufacturer is making the seats for the Maxis, the Marinas, the Austin Princess, and Ambassadors of around this age, they got it slap bang on. Thick, comfortable seats. I do like these sort of touches. AA badges there, and 50th anniversary, which was a few years ago. Now this one has got a vinyl roof, which is really nice to see, considering we've got a sunroof going on here as well. Beige interior, same thick, lovely, comfortable seats. It's a HOS, this one, but it's still young enough because it's on. Oh, actually, I think this has been converted because this is a W reg. It shouldn't have these bumpers, unless I'm wrong about that, but I suspect it shouldn't have these bumpers. It's been modified to look a little bit earlier, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody can correct me on that one. SD1s. Oh, we've got to see some SD1s. We've got a D-Reg 86 one. We've seen so many of these drive in today, and they all sound amazing. Yes. Oh my goodness, it's a 2300, the 2.3. Wow, and it is a Triumph engine, the 2.3. I can understand why they're not particularly popular. Most people tend to think that they pull okay, but there's something not quite there. Maybe it's the lack of torque that you might get in these straight sixes, but Triumph straight six 2.3, you can get it as a 2.6 as well as the 2600. They weren't very popular compared to the V8s. If you bought an SD1, generally you bought the V8. But these sound quite nice actually, especially as automatics. I keep saying automatics these today. It's the order of the day. We've got a 3500 SE. Yeah, these are very familiar wheels on pretty much every SD1. We've got this beige dashboard which shows the design of the pod that sits so nicely, where they literally just had to shift the pod over to the left hand side for left. Literally that little vent there, that's where the steering wheel goes through. They literally just swapped the steering wheel where that vent is, swap the pod over, and that's it, left hand drive. I mean, obviously it's a bit more complicated than that, but in terms of an interior job, all they needed to do was shift everything over. Superb design. Over here we've got the Vitesse version, slightly sportier. This is a later version. We've got this spoiler going on at the back here, and later versions would have had a little bit more of this wood insert into the actual trim. I think that's a really nice touch, and it certainly brought the interior slightly more up to date with a lot of Austin Rover products. Now we've seen this car a few times before, and it is just stunning, utterly stunning. 2.6, wicked motor. twin carbs with Unipart stickers. Oh no, the colour of the avocado green, if I'm mistaken. There's another one here, again avocado green. This isn't avocado green, but it still looks astonishing. It's a metallic colour. This is, someone's had it resprayed, but they've still had the actual trim line put in. I suspect it's a sticker that goes all the way to the front, so someone's bothered to make it look really nice. It's got all those gauges and those big thick buttons there. As I say, SD1s, in terms of a design philosophy, they definitely had a more mainstream feel to them, but more muscular, very much a muscular V8 saloon car. That's how I see them as, but not all of them are V8s. In fact, I suspect what I love about this one, I think this air intake is very similar to what they'd have fitted to an Austin Maestro, the air intake tube. But look at the work that's gone into that. There's all this space down here. You could literally stand. Literally, you could stand on this side and start working on your engine. Fact is, this was an age where they didn't put cam covers over the timing belts, but then again, I suspect this could be a non-interference based on its age. The only reason manufacturers did non-interference is to make the engine less tall. To the death of many engines over the years with snap cam belts. V8, lovely, in gold, and obviously I've just slip the camera through. It's interesting, the headrests have got like a backing, and then you've got the actual headrest, so they look doubly thick. Instead of having a thick headrest, they just have two headrests clipped together. Whoa. Well, this has got to be a Vitesse, hasn't it? You know, with chrome mirrors, or chrome finish mirrors I should say, with chrome inserts in the bumpers. Yes, it is a Vitesse as usual, showing the flag as always.